doing? I'm your host, Spencer Andrews, A.K.A. DJ Dre, and you're in the mix with DJ Pretty Hippie from Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you for being on the show. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. So, DJ Pretty Hippie, how did you come up with the name?
I was DJ Brooklyn for up until about 2 years ago, and there's a female in the EDM scene that's from Australia that goes by DJ Brooklyn, and it turned into a legal thing, so I had to change and rebrand, and I have a clothing line and company. It's called Urban Hippie, and so I just made it Pretty Hippie, like the girls' version of that.
You know, I'm Spencer Andrews, A.K.A. DJ Dre, but what happened for me was I've been DJ Dre from day one. The name was given to me. I was actually working in a club. For those of you that don't know, my first name is Drew, Drew, and I was working in a club, and the guy's like, yeah, our next DJ coming up is DJ Dre, and I looked at him and I was like, who's that guy? And they're like, no, that's going to be you. And I'm like, really? Okay, fine. And I went with it. So I was given the name. And that's one of the things that I think about DJs. I think it's pretty cool when they're given a name. And when you take the word hippie, you're thinking of a old man or woman in a tie-dye shirt, smoking weed, and you're just total opposite of that. I mean, you're pretty. You're definitely pretty, and you don't dress like a hippie. So I need to know, how did we get hippie?
Well, that's how Urban Hippie started, because that's like I have Urban Hippie DJs. I have like 6 DJs under me, and it was just like a whole brand. And so it was like, we're not take a bath, look crazy.
Yeah.
We're still in a dress brush, but we're still big into the cannabis industry, like super friendly,
Really?
inviting.
Okay, so cannabis, hippie does kind of go together.
Yeah.
You know,
And if you notice, my logo is a marijuana leaf turned into Wonder Woman.
You're branding yourself. I've been doing this 26 years, club radio, and you know, I started doing some events, festivals not too long ago. I started branching out because I was really known as a big club DJ. My career fast-tracked very quick from the age of 17, bouncing from club to club. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he goes, you know, your career was almost that of a young ball player where people came out and, you know, they plucked you as if you were a player on a team, and they would just pluck you from spot to spot to spot. And I said, yeah, you know, that is funny how it worked out for me. I did do a couple of events as a young DJ, and I don't know, I fell in love with the nightclubs, but I never really branded myself. I never really had anything. You said you have a clothing line and all that.
As DJ Brooklyn, I felt like it was hard to brand that because of Brooklyn, the city, and there is a ton of DJ Brooklyns. So I felt like it was always getting lost. So when that all came about, that's why I was like, let's come together and rebrand so we can actually have a brand to go with it.
DJs of today will probably never see a nightclub. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah.
They will never see a radio station unless it's internet-based. But internet-based radio is that of terrestrial today. But, you know, DJs are just not going to be where we were or where we're going. You have to know promoters. You were 15 years ago. I'm 26 years ago. We worked for the nightclub exclusively. We didn't work for promoters.
Right.
How do you feel it is for you getting into nightclubs now?
I have a couple residencies at a couple different nightclubs here in Atlanta, but back to your other question.
Thank you.
I found felt like I was, I'm from Kentucky, and I was DJing at a nightclub, and Gucci Mane came through and was doing a show, and he was like so impressed that I could scratch and mix, and I was playing off vinyl turntables that he took me on tour with him. This
Wow.
was like way back in 2005. So that kind of gave me like
fast track to your career. I learned the art. I was schooled. I was taught. I was educated by another DJ on what we do. It's an art. Me and you were talking off mic, and you said you feel bad for some of today's DJs because when it goes bad, they don't know what to do. And talk a little bit about that.
I just see they're just so locked into the technology part of it that they don't really understand the musicality of what they're doing. And sometimes just because it's the same BPM doesn't mean the song goes together. Or what key the song is in,
Right.
can make a difference. And I just see like I've seen new DJs where they exported their playlist to a USB and they didn't export it right. And so the tracks don't have any ID, no BPM, and they're just like, I can't play. He was an old school vinyl DJ, and he was like on my ass, like, no, that's terrible. Try again. Show me you're serious about this. I'm not wasting my time. So
Wow.
It took me like 6 months to work and buy my 2 Techniques and Vestec mixer.
What did you pay for the Techniques? I'm curious at that time. Did you pay $250 like everybody else, or you paid more?
No, my original setup was almost $5,000.
Wow. Well, no, what I'm just saying, when we bought our Technique 1200s,
I have the 1210s, but yeah. Difference is they speed up a little bit.
they give you a little bit more in the pitch control.
Yeah.
Yeah, not needed.
I've gone through so many sets of CDJs and controllers. It's like the new equipment
Technology.
doesn't last. Yeah.
Right. The 1200 wasn't a belt-driven turntable. That was the biggest selling point to the Technique 1200. This is not a belt-driven turntable. When you let go of that vinyl, you will get just the same as if you hit start. Technique 1200 turntables, an electric magnet concept. I don't think too many people really knew that. You remember when you were taking off your platter, it fought you a little bit.
Right.
And, it was an electric magnet concept. And like I said, it was always spinning, give or take, at what you wanted. And when you put a slip mat on top of it, perfection. And that's what a lot of us started on. She started on a 1210. I started on a 1200. I remember we went down to New York City, paid $250 a piece for the tables.
Yeah, I think, it was, like I said, I was from Kentucky, so we didn't have any stores that I could just go buy.
Like shipping and handling came out to like $500, and it came via horse and buggy. I'm happy to have you on the show because I really know for a fact that today's DJs really don't have, the show is kind of designed to give you an insight to something I feel you'll never have. A lot of the young DJs really missed out. You could work for a nightclub exclusively. She has a residency. Now, I quit my residencies a long time ago because I realized I had jumped into a whole new level where I could say, you want me to come in? I'll do 1 hour. You want me to come to, London, which is something I have going on for next year.
The residency I have on a Wednesday, I negotiated a deal, so it's kind of a cool night. It's called Wicked Women's Wednesday. I only have female DJs spin, but I get a percentage of the bar.
Well, see, now you're the promoter. So, it's your night. So you don't have to, that's one of the things now. I've worked on a lot of clubs. I've also worked for clubs in other capacities. These people would walk in and go, oh, what's your capacity? Oh, we're good for 400. Oh, I can do 500. Oh, and I want half your bar. I want 3 1/4 of your door, and give me the coat check. They weren't stupid, and they would sit there, and that's when owner would look at me, I would look at the owner, and then I would look at the said promoter and say, it takes a bullshitter to know a bullshitter.
Right.
And, you know, you tell them, that's when you tell them, here's what you're going to get, you know, and then here comes opening night, and what are your numbers? 50
Right.
people.
Right.
You know,
Well, I feel like
know,
I run into more here, like you said, I'm not DJing. I'm not coming out of my house for under a certain amount, and it's just not worth it to me.
no.
So I have people or nightclub owners and promoters. They're like, we want to have you, but, you know, I got 10 DJs that will DJ the whole night for $50 and a bar tab.
We know what we can bring to the table, to be honest. And I think you know this. These people that will do the whole night for $50 in a bar tab, and the people that go to the club, they really don't have a concept in what they do. They hear a song, and I don't think anyone does it. I know you do. I know I sure as hell do. I can't even go out and have a good time at a event. If there's a DJ present, my friends won't even ask me to go. Because every time I would go out, and I'm not a go out guy because I spent so many of my younger years behind the turntables. I didn't know what it was like to go out and be around people.
I don't like it. I don't like being in the crowd. Like if I am out, I'm either in a section or on the side on a wall somewhere. Like
but you feel out of place.
Yeah, I can't even focus on anything else but how bad it is, and I'm like, I got to get out of here. This is terrible. But we have this DJ. He just very connected, and he knows a lot of the nightclub owners. So he's booked probably 4 or 5 nights a week, and he does not mix, put together. He literally just like goes to the next song with all kinds of different genres and everything.
No,
but they're like, we love him.
When I was a younger DJ, I played in the suburbs. I didn't get into the city, New York City, until I started at 17 in a nightclub. So I didn't hit New York City until I was 21. I had been hearing about all these DJs in New York City, and people were gaga Google all over them. And then, you know, this person that trained me, educated me, yes, schooled me. I said to him, can they DJ? And he would tell me, hell no, they can't. And I also, why do people like them? And they said, because they know what music to play, they know when to play it, they know how to play it. And I said, but that's unfair. And I really did sound like a child. But I said, that's unfair to us. We have this skill, this art that we've learned. You know, there was a lot more than that. You know, we had record pools. We had vinyl record pools.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Right. And I don't remember if this happened for you, but they would give you whatever, maybe 200, 150 records, something like that. And you would have to fill out a form and send that form in. And that was our feedback.
Right.
And that's how records, artists were played via a radio station. We made people as artists. If a lot of us chimed in and said, yo, this record sucks, it never got played.
Right,
you know?
right.
So we DJs were a huge part of many people's careers because we were the deciding vote. Now, here's the problem. Now you have somebody on a radio station and they say, boys and girls, this record is number one. And it's so messed up.
TikToks are even worse.
You really are to be commended because, again, you know, my career, fast track, we didn't have social media, but I'm assuming you do a decent amount of work on social media to promote yourself, no?
Yeah, I put, a good amount. I try to keep current content. And I'm pretty careful about what type of content I put out.
Right, yeah. The viewers need to know is, you know, when I have DJs on the show, I don't research them because, as I was saying before, the Hippie is if I know everything about her, I don't need her on the show. It's kind of useless. Um, because I could just sit here and tell you everything she's going to tell you. So anything I'm asking her, I really don't know. I mean, there might be a couple things I know out of a 3-minute conversation that we had prior to recording the show, but that's how I think my show kind of works a little bit better, that I don't know anything about you. Like I had been saying, I've been wanting to get DJs, veterans, people that have been doing this longer, because we have a lot more to add. The show is designed for people that want to become DJs. How much do you love the ads on Facebook where they give you free software so you can become a DJ?
Yeah, but I mean, I've looked into that, and like what they're really offering is, I mean, it puts you in a really bad situation. Like, I like to go back to, like, you really need to understand music, how music is written. You know what I mean? You can be on beat, but it's the wrong time of the song to put it in. You're bringing
Right.
it in the middle of a verse, or, you know what I mean? There's just things to it that they're just leave out. And it's like, yeah, you can hit sync and hit cue buttons and just go to.
We're talking about the climax. We're talking about the break. Climax is a big thing. The song has a climax. That's where it builds up, and that's where you want to be. You don't want to be prior. You don't want to be at the end. You want to be in the middle, because that's usually where the song builds up. But people say, but I'm playing a 7-minute song. Guess what? Your 7-minute song is only 3 minutes long.
Right.
Because they only give you one friggin' break. There's only one build up in the song. Big props going out to Hippie, because Hippie is a hip hop DJ, and there are no breaks or climax in hip hop. Oh no, because again, we talked about this prior. I play everything. I do almost every genre. I even do Latin American. I play hip hop. I hate it. Not going to lie. And we're going to touch base on that too, on your end and mine. But, hip hop is usually a 5-minute song, 3-minute song. And there really is no breakdown within the song. It's usually vocals from beginning to end. You've got to be quick. You got to know what you're doing. As she said recently, you have to know. There's a huge rule in DJing. No vocals on vocals. What equipment are you using today?
I still have my techniques in my studio, but I have the Pioneer DJ XZ, the new controller that just came out. I just bought that recently.
You're using basically hardware and software.
Correct.
Question is, what made you choose hardware versus hardware and software?
I mean, it really just, the convenience of it is the reason why I have a controller to travel, whatever. I mean, those techniques are heavy. And when you fly with them, it's just ridiculous in carrying them in and out. Like I said, it's huge. The controller I have is, it's probably 3 feet long. It's very heavy. It has an actual computer in it. I spend hip hop, I use Serato. But when I'm doing EDM shows, everybody wants you to use Record Box. So this converts between the both of them. They just want one setup that you can bring your USB and plug in. They don't want you to.
Right. And it's shared. You're not bringing your own equipment. Right.
Right. That's what the EDM, they do like 1 hour sets, 1.5 hour, I don't like other people really playing on my equipment because they'll spill drinks and just be all rough. And like if you look in the background of all the videos or pictures, I have it's like a water bottle thermos thing, like it's insulated, but it has a sealed top. And I always have that. That's what, if I have anything to drink on there, it's in there. And people are like, why do you do that? Well, 1, no one can put anything on my drink. 2, it can't get spilled on the equipment. 3, it's safe cold.
But talking about guys, do you feel that female DJs are more marketable than men?
Yes and no. And people ask me about this all the time. Like, yeah, I made it like from I was in my 20s, young 20s when I started. And like I never did like the whole sexy bathing suit, ass in the picture type
Yeah.
promotion ever. And I feel like a lot of these new they literally are half naked or like they're promoting sex, not necessarily.
Well,
And
selling themselves. They're
right.
selling themselves in the worst way. But,
But it's hot for a little while. People are like, oh, da da da, and then they fall off.
well, one of the things, like I said, this will be a, talk and cut you off situation, but, one of the things is this, and I've always felt this because I worked in strip clubs. I hated it. I was 17 in my first strip club. Now, as a female, you may be thinking a couple things. Yeah, right, buddy. You're full of shit. You loved it, whatever. I hated it because I came up on the streets. I wasn't homeless. I meant, for those that don't know, I came up on the streets and I was 16 hanging out with 32-year-olds. I ran with an older crowd. I learned. I didn't have a father. I was street smart. And that's the best education anyone's ever going to get. But I knew things that most 16 to 17-year-olds didn't have a damn clue. So when I walked into the strip club my first day, I already knew. And I had been in there previously actually learning, but, learning how to DJ, that was my second home. But I already knew. Not all women, just the strip club side. Their whole thing is to suck you dry financially.
Mm.
And then you go home with your package in your hand. And I mean, I'm married. My wife even says to me, oh, how come you don't go to strip clubs? And I'm like, because I'd rather throw my money at you than throw it at somebody I don't know.
Yeah, I
You're just, listen,
yeah, I've
guys.
been with a lot of strip clubs too, and I sit there
And
and
you
just
hate
watch, and yeah, because it's like a
You're
hustle
learning?
where both sides lose.
Yes.
So it's like the dudes are giving all their money to these chicks and really not getting anything.
And at the end of the night, they're going different ways.
Right.
Right. And I feel so bad for you that you were a female DJ in a strip club. I don't feel bad that you're a female DJ, but I'm sorry you ever worked in a strip club. It should never have to happen for a woman. But, what happens is if you're a smart guy and you're DJing or a female, you gotta remember the DJ booth is your chair and everything going on out there is your textbook. You see it, first of all, maybe for you young guys. I'll give you a little education. When you go to a strip club and you're paying all that money to buy your stripper a drink, she's getting a watered down drink, so the club makes more money on the alcohol.
Right.
When you're giving her all this money for lap dances and everything, just so you know, at the end of the night, she most likely is going to go home to her boyfriend.
Right.
Or he's in the audience waiting for her to get off of work.
Yeah.
And like Hippie said, it's a lose-lose situation. If you guys, any of you men, think you're going to go to a strip club, fall in love and whatever, not going to happen.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is for the men, because again, men can be a little arrogant and I'm sorry guys, stupid. If you think, just like, I had friends of mine do this, they thought, oh man, if I had a porn star for a girlfriend, do you really think for 2 seconds what you see on screen, what you see on stage is what's going to be brought into the bedroom? Hell no.
Also, I feel like on the rapper side of the hip hop thing, and especially here in Atlanta, it's like a big thing that they do. So a rapper will have a new song. Like, we're not talking about like somebody that not a lot of people know, like an unknown rapper, basically. They go into the strip club, they pay the DJ $2,000 to play their song, and then they spend $10,000 in the strip club throwing money while their song is being played.
Yeah.
And then you walk in like, what did you get from that $12,000 that you just spent? Like, but they, in their mind, their song got played at Magic City, and they're stars now.
And a friend of mine that I had met you know, he kind of schooled me into how to kind of navigate in the strip club down there and with the people. He's like, look, you know, you see that guy right there? That's Tony and his crew. These guys, blah, 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 they're controlling. I didn't really care, and I wasn't a big drug. You know, I didn't do drugs when I was younger. But these guys were basically all, you know, they were selling a lot of cocaine. And he's like, yo, when he walks in, I mean, these were guys that would come in and get bottles of, you know, Johnny Walker, you know, and whatever the label is, there's black, there's purple, but whatever the highest label there is, they would buy bottles of. So when they would walk in, oh, big shout out to Tony and his crew. And then out of the corner of my eye, I'd catch the guy Tony lean over to one of his people and kind of point to me. And I would think, shit, I'm a dead man. And then the guy would come up and go, Tony says, what's up to you? Here you go. And he'd come back and I'd get like a $200 tip. And every time I shouted them out, I was getting another $100 to $200, you know. And it just, so when I was taught, you know, I had a list. My friend, because he was leaving one club, he goes, here. I said, what's this? He goes, oh, it's a list of names. You should learn it. And you shout these people out. So when I first started at my first strip club, I was getting, the pay was $80. But for some reason, my friend Rick had worked there and I was getting more money. So I was making
like paid per girl. Like that's
no.
how it works here. Like every girl has to tip you $25.
No, this is how it worked back in the day. So base pay was $80. What do you think of today's music, especially on the hip hop side, has turned into just pure crap?
I don't feel like it's all crap, but there's more crap than good. Goes back to like the internet instead of like the labels putting out music. So anybody can put out a song and get it out there and put it on Spotify and put it whatever, which back in the day we would have never even got that record because someone would have said it was whack. And I mean, like, I feel like I've been pretty good with like staying relevant. Like some of the stuff I'm like, I don't get this and I hate it. Like some of them, like, and that goes with like what I do for the EDM. Like I'll take a hook of it, hip hop song that's popular, but then I'm taking the verse out and doing a drop and doing a remix. Right. So yeah, I try not to even listen to the verses. Like some of them, I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. Why did they just say that?
I've been very blessed in this business. Even DJ Pretty Hippie was blessed by having a hip hop name come by and take her under his wing. Miracles or just luck. It happens when it happens. You know, again, for me, I was 16. This guy taught me everything I needed to know. You have to remember, and we're going back to it because it's so important. You DJs have to understand, you have to know your music. Not know the artist, not go, oh, I know so-and-so sings that. You have to know and study your music. Yeah. Let me ask you a question, Hippie. How much research do you do into your music? How are you with music? Are you a researcher, or, as most people, you just get it and store it and play it? I'm sure you're definitely not that person.
No, I mean, I definitely go through and listen to like tons and tons of music. Like I'm not a TV person. Like I can go a whole week and not turn my TV on. Like I wake up and I turn on music and I'm just always music. I'm always listening for stuff. But on my hip hop, I have my own hip hop mix show every Friday night called Club Brooklyn. And the coolest thing about that is my program director gave me 100% creative control. So I don't have to play off a list of these hit songs that are popping right now. I can play anything I want. It's like unheard of in the radio world to have.
Yes, it is. One of the things that happens for me is I don't do playlists. I go into a club, if it's a hip hop night or a old school reggae, if whatever I'm going into, I just play. I just pull. I don't think. You know, I know a lot of DJs. Oh, what are you doing? I'm doing my set for tonight. Why?
Yeah.
Why are you doing a set? You know,
You
that's
changed my
me.
mind too much. I've tried that in
Yes.
the past, and it's like I don't want to play that. I want to play that, and I just always go somewhere else. So just to have different things in them, so I know
Yeah.
where songs are, but not I don't have like today's date. This is the song something.
I remember when I used to go to clubs, when I would be on my way to a club, I would be mixing in my head. And I'd be
Okay.
like, oh, yeah, like, oh, all right, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And I'd be, oh, no. And also we're going to touch base. Now, you're a producer, too, and we're going to touch base on that. Correct me if I'm wrong, first of all, because I
Yeah.
hate when I'm wrong. Okay.
Hmm.
But, I would be mixing in my head, like, oh, yeah, I'll do that, da, da, da. And then when we get there, it was just 100%
Yeah.
opposite.
Oh
So,
yeah.
you're not a playlister, which I love, unless I think what people should know is, and I think it should apply to us, because, we're a little bit on the celebrity side and we can get away with it. I mean that we've been doing this long enough that, again, we can have creative license to, whether it's, as DJ Pretty Hippie was saying, her director at the radio station leaves her alone, you know, whether we go to a nightclub. That's why people get known for what they do. And that's the, i.e., celebrity part. Oh yeah, I know who you are. You're DJ Pretty Hippie, and I know how you roll. You're DJ Dre. I know exactly what you do. I've heard about you.
I feel like people they'll come up and I don't do requests, and some people they just get
Oh, I
thrown
hate
up and
that.
hate it. I just don't do requests. I'm like, if I play your song, you're throwing me off of what I'm doing. That song could be way off from where I'm at. It's just anytime I've ever tried to do it, it just doesn't go well. And so
Right.
for years, and so people will be like, she won't take requests. You're taking away from what I'm doing and what I'm
Right.
creating. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm not a jukebox.
There was this very heavy woman hanging off of something she shouldn't have been hanging off of, slamming the window on the DJ booth, yelling, "Play Madonna."
Oh my god.
Yeah. I shut off the music. I called security. What DJs have been trying to do for ages is kind of brainwash you and say, hey, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to be nice, and we're going to play some stuff that you know, but we're going to hit you. It's almost kind of like being a drug dealer for some of us. We're going to give it to you for free, but then you're going to pay for it. We would play stuff you would know to get you on the floor, but then when we had you there, we would hit you with some stuff you had no clue. You didn't know where it came from, but you knew you liked it. That's where my notoriety came from, is that I was known for playing stuff that people hadn't heard, but yet it was enjoyed by all.
No, I play like trap, bass, dubstep, but like that's how I got my notoriety. I took my hip hop, background, and I've produced and remixed. Like I'll take, whatever popular song that they would want to request, and then I just flip it.
I feel a lot of DJs are starting to get into the production side. I've always had an issue with that when it comes to myself, because one would say, oh, you just have a over creative mind, but I'll come out with a track and I'll have so many layovers on it that, it's like I can't put it down and stop. How did you get into production? What made you wake up and say, you know what? I want to start producing music, and the music that you're producing, is it your own or are you doing remakes?
So you might be familiar with a producer named Seven that worked with Diddy, and he's worked with tons of artists, but he's actually
Right.
from my hometown, and he came and saw I was like opening up for Yin Yang Twins at this club. He was like, yo, you're really good, whatever. And I was like, well, I'm trying to get into producing. He's like, well, what do you know about producing? I'm like, well, I can play several instruments, I can read music, whatever.
Oh, wow.
He's like, yeah. He's like, well, there's more to it than that. And it's like, there's a school in Florida called Full Sail. You should look into that. And so I did, and I ended up going to Full Sail and actually getting my degree. So I have an engineering degree.
See, that's
And
that's why I don't mean to cut you off, but that's why I give you so much respect, is you've educated yourself, and I just have so much respect for that, and I'll let you go on. I apologize.
well, I actually get, like, people, like, really hate on Full Sail, and I do believe, like, knowing what I know now, if I should have just offered, you know, a producer, somebody that, you know, in the studio, like $10,000 to, like, for a year sit in the studio with them and have them teach me, you know, it's probably been the same. But at the same
Wow.
time, me going to Full Sail, when I said I wanted to do something and they realized I went to Full Sail, they're like, oh, okay, you know what you're doing. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely expensive. It was like $50,000, and I'm still paying it off today. I graduated in 2004, so yeah. Yeah, I was like, my student loan payment is more than my car payment.
You really need to educate yourself. And, I mean, she did it. She went, she educated, she felt that she should have done something different, but again, she has the accolades to say to people, I went to this name school. And, you know, you have to make these decisions when you're trying to give yourself a career.
You know, because I'm always down to help somebody that wants to learn how to DJ or engineer produce. So I'm like, come over to the studio. I have a full studio at my house. You know, work with people. And what I notice is these new producers that are just new, that just have Fruity Loops. Like, the same thing, like, I can hear in like 2 seconds that that's what they're doing, because they don't really understand what effects and what you need to do to that track when you're putting it in digitally to make it sound melodic and like a real song instead of on off like a computer.
Right.
But like I said, I think to make it sound like that, they're dumping it into Pro Tools, you know, adding plugins and things to make it sound like that versus just exporting that track. This one kid,
and that's
he was
another
like,
thing.
I can master too. I was like, you know how to master? I was like, that's impressive. I was like, how do you go about doing that? He's like, oh, I just put on the normalize and just turn it all the way up. So, and I just kind of wanted to get away from the hip hop, the indie artists put on, because it just became like the biggest headache. We would be in the studio and they'd be like, my vocals need to be louder. That needs to be turned up. I'm like, you have no idea what you're doing.
Well, yeah.
Why? And when any other genre, they would be like asking you, like, should I be this? Should I do this?
Right.
How? And
the worst customer is the one that thinks they know what they're doing, but yet they've come to a professional to do it.
Right. This Halloween party this past weekend out of town, and I was like, these people have the most confidence ever, because they did not look in the mirror or what is going on.
As Pretty Hippie was saying, people are paying her. She's the professional, and they're telling her what to do, and it don't work that way, people.
Or I get this a lot too. Somebody will be like, hey, will you listen to my track and just let me know what you think?
Oh.
And I'll be like, well, the mix is bad on it. Your vocals are too loud over the track, da-da-da. And they're like, what? Fuck you. I'm a, what? Group of EDM DJs that they work a lot around here, and they have this saying, they're like, you're not headlining unless you're redlining. And I'm like, you know what redlining means?
Yes.
You're distorting the track. Like, that's not, they're like, no, that means your sound is good and loud.
No.
Like, oh, Lord.
No. How do you feel about internet radio? Do you think that it is the new terrestrial radio?
It's kind of like one of the same things that I feel about the rappers. Like, there's so many, like, unless you're doing the right marketing, it kind of can real easily just not get seen.
Yeah.
For me, like, during, like, the whole COVID thing, I did probably 5 or 6, like, live stream sets. And for me, I felt like that was probably the hardest thing that I've ever done, because you're on camera, they can see you, and you're supposed to, like, have energy, whatever, but I'm literally looking at the wall in front of me, and it's hard to keep that up and not feel the crowd. So, like, to me, that was, like, a struggle.
To this day, refuse to go on camera. I will not go on camera. But this is another thing, and people need to learn it. There's always somebody better than you. COVID was a hard time for a lot of us in the entertainment business.
Well, we got
And
really lucky here in Atlanta because we only shut down for like 6 weeks, and then we were back up in the club.
really,
Yeah.
wow, Ooh, wow, holy shit.
Yeah, we were lucky because I was like, I couldn't do a whole year of just live streaming.
It was hard.
Yeah.
And you wanted, and then that was the other thing. Entertainment was shut down. People, they needed something, and very brave people like you went on camera.
Because I was always like, I don't do techno, and I put EDM into just one block. I was like, I don't do that. I don't do rave. I don't do that.
Yeah.
And then I went to Tomorrow World, and I was like, holy shit! It's like it made the DJ the artist and the production behind it, and then everybody in the crowd was dancing and having a good time. I'm in the hip hop clubs, and they've like cleared, and like there's no more dance floors. It's all sections now here in Atlanta.
Really?
And so everybody just sits in their sections and smokes hookah and has bottles, and it's just like nobody's dancing. It's just, I don't know. It's just a weird environment that I had to adapt. I have a face that you can just tell on my face, like when I'm looking. So I'm just like.
I thought you were going to say something else, because I've seen your face, and it's, I mean, don't take this the wrong way. It's not bad. Anything and everything you want to promote.
Yeah, my Instagram is Pretty Hippie DJ Brooklyn. My Facebook is the same. Every Friday night from 10 to 12, I do Club Brooklyn on 107.9 The Beat, WBTS. I've been doing that my radio show has been going for 8 years now.
Good for you.
Yeah. And soon I have a whole clothing line at urbanhippie.net right now. It's the reason by the Urban Hippie and Pretty Hippie, but I'm going to set up a website soon just for the Pretty Hippie.
I've got to tell you, it's been a pleasure to talk with you. To have somebody with the experience and time in is always a pleasure, because I definitely, without a doubt, accept you as one of my own, because you have the understanding. And that's one of the reasons why In the Mix was created, to have people like you on the show that can open eyes for other people. And I really appreciate your time.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.